Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung Millwall, number one Millwall podcast, as you well know. Now, as is the way for any podcast at any time, events overtake you quite quickly. So, Michael and I recorded a short lunchtime conversation on fixture release day, which is Thursday. Today's Saturday as I speak to you now. And lo and behold, we have a number of major stories that have broken after I pressed the end call button on Thursday. So, just as a brief introduction, listeners, this show is going to include various opinions from the chaps on the podcast about the Zian Fleming bid from Burnley. Who knows how much that money is on the table and where it will finish. But I just wanted to gauge a few views from the boys on the podcast about the wisdom or not of selling Zian Fleming. So I'm going to lead off the show with various voice notes sent to me by all of the boys on the show with their views on the Zian Fleming storyline that is unfolding. And then following that, I'm going to take you back to the original conversation between Michael, Avery and I, which was recorded in the aftermath of that very modern football non-event day, like transfer deadline day. So you have fixture release day. So that was on Thursday. So first up is going to be the voicemails, and then over to Michael Avery to complete the show. Big thank you to everyone for, at very short notice, sending me content for your delectation, dear listeners. Hope you enjoy it.
Achtung, Millwall.
Well, hello there, dear listener. I am sending this voice note from the secret location that is the Millwall FC transfer dungeon. It's called a dungeon because nothing ever really happens down here, and all the things that does happen is quite frightening at times. So yes, it's kind of dark and dank and damp down here. So it's Michael Avery here. Mr. Hart has kindly asked us our opinions on the recent news that Burnley may be coming in for Zian Fleming, which at first, I'm not going to lie, I sort of was a little bit along with the Twitterverse in the sense that it was kind of, nothing to see here, people, move along. But there does seem to be a little bit of weight gaining with it. Firstly, would I sell? 8 million is a good amount. Let's not lie. And in today's football, it might not mean a lot to everyone else, the way that money's been splashed around and investors are coming in. But to a club like Millwall, 8 million is a lot of money. Yes, you can argue, is that even a word? You can argue that George Saville, when he went to Middlesbrough, went for around 8 million. We've turned down, allegedly, years ago, a bid of 9 million for Cooper. And now, in this instance, 8 million for Zian Fleming. I think the problem that we have as a club is we still cling to the sentiment of players. And we don't tend to really cash in unless, either they go on the cheap or they go on freeze. We've never been a club who really sells for big money. Would I sell for 8 million? Possibly, yes. My head would seriously be turned. And Zian Fleming, as much as he had a great start to his career at Millwall, he's obviously got the player of the season last year. Unless I've got it totally wrong and I've read the behavioural patterns of the player, he's always seems to like he wants to go on to bigger and better things, as every player would want to. 8 million would be good money. And let's think of it just common sense. You can get two decent players for 4 million, which Millwall money would absolutely smash transfer dealings out the window. With me, it's never a case of, being outpriced in the market. You can say that 8 million wouldn't buy you a lot, especially if you're pushing for the top six. But again, this is down to the recruitment. Nick and I was talking off camera recently, talking about the recruitment of teams like Luton, Peterborough, Brentford. 8 million might not seem a lot of money if you're a splash to cash team, but if you recruit properly and you really scale the market properly, 8 million could get you a good player. Next question, what price is he for sale? I'd have liked about 10, but again, I'll take 8. You can't look at Gifthoff in the mass. He's had a great season. If he has a stinker next season, that 8 million is going to drop drastically. So would I cash in now? Possibly. but only if we have a plan in place of a decent replacement. That's why if it strengthens the side, then I 100% would get rid for 8 million. But again, I wouldn't just sell for the sake of money. I would have to have things in place. We need a striker. We say it repeatedly. We say it over and over and over and over again. Fleming is very creative, and yes, we would need a replacement. But as it's shown, when Jed Wallace left a couple of seasons ago, he was our main man. He was our main maestro. He left. And did we miss him that much in the grand scheme of things? Possibly, possibly not. A lot of people will be on the latter, possibly not. So we would need to get a replacement for Fleming. And he was relatively cheap, a decent gamble. But we do need that striker. Every club needs strikers. Tom Bradshaw, all he needs to is have a bit of a bad run or get injured. There's no replacement. I'm sorry, I'm not on the Vogelsama camp of him as a striker playing that position. I just don't think he's a good enough replacement. So yeah, a striker, an attacker. If we can get a good one or two of them for, maybe one for 5 million, one for 3, or just one for 8 million, a really good, proven, season after season after season centre forward, attacking midfielder, it will be fine. But I just think overall, this is going to be a really, really, we say it every season, and it's a broken record. It's like the sort of vinyl where the needle trips. But this is such an important transfer window for Millwall. We possibly more so than any other before, because we've had a season now where you could argue poor transfer windows have cost us. So if we really want to push for that top 6 and, not blow it on the final day and be really comfortable going into the final day where, even if you do throw it away like you did against Blackburn, you're not going to drop out of the top 6. This is such a vital window. If Fleming does go, fair play to him, as we said with Jed Wallace and other players, Lee Gregory when he went. Fair play to him if they want to go and further their careers and look up. Absolutely no issue with that. If he stays, wonderful. He's a good player, top player. He makes the team tick. But like a clock, it ticks, and if it breaks, you just get it repaired. Get something in there, get it ticking again. Tick-tock, transfer window is looming and the window's getting closer, or the end of the window is getting closer by the end. Come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. Hello, listeners. It's Matt Richards here. Just give my thoughts on everything that's flying around today on Twitter and online about Zian and the proposed or supposed bid by Burnley. Different numbers being quoted, up to 8 million. What would I take? I mean, definitely want more than that, obviously. You want as much as possible, but I think if we can get a clear, say, like 10 million, it's a good deal. I don't know if there's a sell-on clause from Sittard, which I would have to pay them a bit. I don't know that. But how much is he worth? I mean, he's only had one season in Championship. Good, really good season. You can't say anything different to that. But if we're going to be thinking 15, 20 million, that's a bit of a joke, really. When you see, I think James Ward-Prowse is being touted for 30 million, Kovacic 30 million. It's a different league, really. So, yeah, 10. If we get 10 to 12, I'll be happy with that. We've got to take it. None of this. I've even see people that say, "Oh, we need to build a team around him." We end up with a Jed situation again, so that can't happen. This is a real good opportunity for Mill, and we need to make the most of it. So, what would I do with it? Well, if we got 10, I mean, I think players wise, I think we need to strengthen across the whole squad, really. But priorities, I think we need a keeper. Can't rely on Long as a first choice, and Bart's not the same player he was, I think, 2 or 3 seasons ago. If you're looking at the right backs, left backs, Danny didn't have a great end of the season, but I think a left back is more important. I think a specialist left back to get up and down. And actually, he's talking about it depends what formation Barrett wants to play. I think he still will probably stick to a 4, but he obviously went to a 5 towards the end of the season, and that's how he started last season. So depends on what players he can get in. Centre backs, I'd like to have another centre back in there definitely. It depends on Alex Mitchell, whether he goes out on loan or whether Wright thinks he's ready. Hopefully we can save a bit of money on that, and Alex Mitchell will do a job there. And we've always got Murray obviously as well, if we can get a specialist left back in. I think midfield's not that bad. I think obviously if Zian goes, we'd need to replace him, so an attacking midfielder, perhaps another creative midfielder, because we've got a lot of industrious players there, Billy, Sav, Honeyman, but I think I want another forward as well. So I kind of want bloody everything, don't I? But Nisbet, good signing. Fingers crossed. Also you got Bradshaw, but I'd want a different type of forward up front. I want somebody with a bit more physical presence, a bit more strength. It doesn't have to be necessarily tall, but that'd be ideal. And I think we need some width as well. So a right winger. You got Watmore down the left. I know you've got SA coming in, but I think it'd be too much responsibility to expect him to perform week in, week out. I think hopefully he'll have a good season, and he'll play a lot more than last season, I'm sure. But I think we need to have a bit more quality and a bit more experience out there as well. So it's quite a few players there. I think I've probably rattled through 6 or 7 players. But if we got 10 million, then that's a decent amount of money. You've still got loan signings. If we can go abroad, I mean, this is going to be the key test of our recruitment. Though that's what it is. It puts it into really sharp focus. We've never had that amount of money. I can't remember, even when we sold Saville, where we spent that money the season after. I know we've got a few players in, but we've never spent up to £10 million. So, the pressure will be on Alex, pressure will be on Rowett and the whole team. But it's exciting times. I think we're great. Good luck to Zian if he goes. He served us well. If we get 10 million in the bank, let's take it and let's see what next season brings. So yeah, that's my thoughts, Nick. Cheers, and come on, you irons.
Good morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here, just putting my 10 in on the Zian Fleming to Burnley. Not debate, but I think conversation. I think if it's up to me, I think I'd sell him anywhere. If we were left with a profit of between 10 and 12 million, I think it'd be a great business for us. We got him in for 1.7 or whatever it was, and for us to get that sort of money for him after one season, unproven in the Championship, he's had a great season. I think it would be good business for us. It would also obviously give us a few quid to hopefully spend on strengthening our squad, which I think is the next stage to it. So yeah, if we were left with 10 or 12 million to profit, I suppose, then I'd be quite happy. And if we were going to sell him, I think the price anywhere up to 15 million. I think anywhere between 12, 15 million would be decent for us, and it would also obviously allow us to give Fortuna Sittard their cut of the profit as well. So yeah, I'll back to that thing. If we're left with a profit of 10 million, then I'd be quite happy. As to strengthening the club, I think it would not just allow the first team to strengthen, but I think it'd just be good to get a stronger squad. So all in all, I'd take the deal. And if we did get the money, then I think the next question is where we'd improve the squad. For me, priority obviously would be the goalkeeper, but I think if that could take a little bit of time, we may end up getting a lone keeper in, knowing where we sort of end up at the beginning of the season. But I think if we had to strengthen and we had the money, I'd look for a good left back. I think everybody saw it last year. We were sort of winging a prayer at times as to who was going to go in there. And as the season developed and got through to the end, we really struggled to fill that little area. So the left back would be ideal. And even if it's a left wing back, I'd go with that, because I think we just need somebody who is consistently or predominantly left-sided and can keep us there. I know Styles was the player, but it doesn't look like we're going to get him. But I think he was more looking at it from afar. I think he looked more of a centre midfielder in waiting than he did a left-back going to come in. So I'm not sure what the script is with him. But I think for me, I'd go for a left-back, certainly. I'd also look for that Styles type of centre midfielder. I think we've got Saville and Billy in there. I'm hoping that Ryan Leonard actually ends up as a defender this year. I think he might pick up less injuries if he's got the game in front of him and he's not having to sort of do so much twisting and turning as he would in the centre mid. But if we've got Billy and Saville in the centre mid, I think I'd like to see an addition in there. I don't think it's Honeyman. I think a Shackleton type player would have been ideal to keep on for another season, but obviously we're not getting that. So again, if we get a centre midfielder in, we'll obviously need to replace Fleming, and that's really down to Gary Rowett and his tactics. If he plans on giving SA a lot more time, is he going to be a player that's involved in a sort of new style formation that allows Bradshaw, Nisbet, SA, Honeyman, Mitchell and everybody else to get in there? So it's really going to come down to the style of play. So at the moment, that's where I'd be looking to strengthen in the midfield. I think if we get a dominant centre-back, I think, again, it's an area where we've actually been quite lucky, or we've done really well over the last 2 seasons because we've had 2 excellent loan signings in Ballard and Cresswell. But I wonder if maybe if he bought a player in to challenge Hutch, Murray Wallace and Cooper, I think it might improve them to have somebody pushing them rather than just a lone player. And again, if he's that good a centre-back, then it actually solves a problem for us, because as Hutch gets a little bit older and more injury-prone, it becomes a problem. Cooper, I think, as great as a defender he is, I think he's still got a lot of problems for us when he has the ball at his feet. So it might just improve that sort of thing. Somebody like Lockyer, who's at Luton, is a type of centre-back I'm thinking of, because, you know, they're ball-playing to start with, but they're also good defenders who read the game well. So just see how we go. And then obviously the loan option that may come in, that extra money we're getting in for, or that we possibly might get in for Fleming, might just help with the wages and, you know, allow us to get a better style or a higher quality of loan signing. So that's where I am on the whole thing of selling Zian. I think when you look at when we got him in and what was getting said about our recruitment policies and our route of getting players in, get them cheap, sell them for big money, this is exactly what people were talking about at the time. It's obviously very early. He's had 1 season with us, but if we can make a great profit on that, then that is exactly what people were talking about. We get a young player in, give them a platform to play on, improve them hopefully, and then sell them for big money. And then we go out and get another one, and then we go and get another one, and we just keep selling them. And that is a model that people talk about with Brentford, and that's exactly what's gone on here. So let's hope that we can keep that going. And if we do sell him, we get good money. We'll all be very grateful to him for being with us for a season. But at the same time, football's a business, and we need to strengthen our own club now. So hopefully, if we do sell him, we get good money. If we don't sell him, I don't think we're all too miffed either. So good luck to whoever's doing the business with him. And to you, Nick, and everybody else, good luck for the upcoming season. Come on, you Lions.
Hi, Nick. John Rankin here. Just with a few thoughts and observations on the Zian Fleming topic. You've sent us 5 questions, which I'm going to answer. So, rumours of 8 million bid for Fleming. Would you sell? No, I wouldn't. Not at that price. We've got to build a team round Zian Fleming, and we did so to a certain extent last season, although I don't think Gary Rowett gave him a free enough rein. I'd like to see him dropping a lot deeper, picking up the ball and acting as a kind of pivot stroke number 10, but more on that later. 2, at what price is he for sale for you? Well, we need him. So, you know, you put a £30 million price tag on him. And if someone wants to pay that money, then okay, you accept it. But that will scare away most of the clubs, because we need him at least for next season to try and make a push for the playoffs. 3, if it strengthens the side, is this a good deal? No, I don't, because I don't think it will strengthen the side. I don't think there's enough quality. You know, if we got 8 million, 12 million, 15 million, 30 million, I don't think there's enough quality around. You'd need to buy 2 or 3 players, and they'd need time to bed in. CM Fleming's had his first season with Millwall. He's cut his teeth in the Championship. I just don't think it's a good idea to let him go at all at any price, really. But if someone pops up and pays 30 mil, well, at least you might be able to buy a few seasoned performers, to strengthen the squad. But dubious, if you ask me. Areas you'd strengthen with the pounds this still might generate. Well, new goalie, new left back, and a centre forward, because I'd like to pay 2 up front. The rest, I think we've got enough talent. Maybe another midfielder. Any other thoughts? Yes. Burnley, right, and Manchester City. Burnley play a disgraceful style of football, if you ask me. It's all right to be possession-based. That's fine. It's lovely and attractive. But then to then foul your way out of counter-attacking teams, which are trying to play against you, is both cynical, and the referees are not stamping on it. Burnley are, Manchester City reserves, okay? And I think Manchester City now have got themselves to a stage where they're obviously bigger than the Premiership. There's huge amounts of money flowing around. They were having financial sanctions placed on them the last I heard, and that's all disappeared because obviously palms have been oiled behind the scenes. And I think they're too big for the Premiership. And I think if you look at the fact that most of their attacking players have more yellow cards for tactical fouling than their defenders, which was highlighted in a brilliant article a couple of weeks ago in The Independent, you will see the style of playing that they're the style of football that they're practising. I don't buy this Pep Guardiola, Johan Cruyff connection. Johan Cruyff, for me, revolutionised football. Pep Guardiola is doing a job. He's got unlimited resources virtually, and he's exploiting the rules of football and the weakness of referees to play possession-based football with a fantastic set of players, best in the world probably at this sort of club level, and then when they lose the ball, just foul, just trip people up and stop the flow and get the ball back that way. Spain and Barcelona don't do it that way. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a hot topic for me, but I'm a little bit annoyed that Burnley have come in for CM Fleming, because I think it would be a real slap in the face after the way they performed down at the Den to come in and cherry pick CM Fleming against us. So there you are, Nick. Over and out, and come on you Lions.
Well, good morning, dear listeners. Harry Warren here. Back a little bit more lively than we thought we would with the rumoured Fleming to Burnley, or definitely the rumoured Burnley attempts to sign CM Fleming. How do I feel about it? Well, we are a selling club, unfortunately. That is how we have to look at things. And there's 2 ways of looking at this. You either sell your best players with the hope that you generate revenue to strengthen in depth and strengthen the squad as a whole, or you hold on to your best players and end up with Jeff Wallace leaving on a free scenario. So those are the 2 ways you can play. Do I think £8 million is enough for CM Fleming? Well, we got £8 million for George Savile 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was now. Football's only got more expensive, and CM Fleming ain't worth £8 million in the market. I mean, that's a very strange statement to say anyone's worth millions of pounds, but CM Fleming is definitely not worth £8 million. I'm thinking that's maybe 6, 7, 8 million light, something like that. I think you've got to be looking at Burnley got promoted, Millwall's budgets. You've got to be looking at somewhere in the 12 to 15 million pound mark with add-ons as well, I'd say. I mean, I'd be being cheeky and saying that if Burnley stay up, you take more money off them. You say, you know, we want another 3-4 million. So if it's 12 up front with a possible £4 million windfall at the end of it, if Millwall have to structure it that way, do it that way. But he's not, you know, out of contract. Will it turn his head? That's another problem. But, you know, maybe drive him to Burnley and show him what a shithole it is, because from what I understand, he lives on Canary Wharf in quite a nice, you know, quite a nice cosmopolitan city centre, rather than driving to where are they, fucking Lancashire or wherever, the shithole that is Burnley. So, no, I think I wouldn't like us to sell him, but if we did to them, if Mill got 12 million or 15 million, something around that mark, I'd be happy. But, well, I wouldn't be happy, but I'd be happier with the amount received, and then we'd have to go out, and I'd like us to see what we did with Fleming done on a larger scale. I'd like us to go and buy 5 or 6 off the back of that for that kind of money, you know, the 1.8s, 1.5s, something like that, which is a lot of Millwall money. But if you've just been given £12 million, that's not really a lot. That's in the sense of that's a lot of Millwall transfer budget. It's probably 6-7 times our transfer budget, maybe, I don't know. But it would open up a lot of possibilities. Then it's, do we end up wasting the money, which we will always have done in the past. So, you know, it's a possibility. It hasn't happened yet, but I think if it were to happen, you know, as long as we reinvested it, we could come again. As long as we, you know, have been scouting a load more Dutch mastery or people from elsewhere. But we definitely, if we did lose Fleming, we are a lot weaker. So I'd hope we'd find some form of replacement, or at least be looking at that now if it is being talked about. But there we go. Not really a lot more you can say. It's if buts and maybes at the minute. But anyway, come on, you Lions, and speak to you all soon.
Hi, I'm Gary Rowett, and you're listening to the world famous Achtung Millwall.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to part 1 of a 2-part Achtung Millwall, a Midsummer Madness show for you, dear listeners. First up, our puck on this Midsummer Night's Madness is Michael Avery. How are you doing, Michael?
Hooray! Fixture list day is out. Everyone's now not giving it. So we've got the 3 things that they'll moan about: the warm beer, the fixture list that they'll moan about, and the colour of the blue is going to be. So we're 1 down, 2 to go, and then the season starts. Let's go.
Off we go. It's just become a big thing, this fixture release. I was having a conversation earlier on, saying back in the olden days when I was a boy, you basically bought the paper at the local newsagent to find out who your fixtures were. But now it's given the full Sky Television sensational build-up, really, and you know, it's nice. So I kind of look forward to it, but it reminds me really of a visit to the fish and chip shop in my case, Michael, because much is promised in the fish and chip shop, and then when you actually get to eat your chips, it's never quite as good as you think they're going to be. And I always find that with fixture release day, there's a big build-up, and then there's a Middlesbrough away as midday fixture. doesn't quite deliver the ecstatic payoff that you think it should somehow.
Oh, mate, and I'll tell you what as well. Just like with the what do you call it? What you just said there. It's a bit like that big asterisk. Fixtures subject to change. Half of these will be changed in about a week. The old bill will make
yeah.
Bristol City on the 12th be like on the 13th at 1 o'clock in the morning because they don't like us. And just like you say, mate, I'm not being funny. The chip shop analogy is brilliant because it's going to be tomorrow morning's chip paper, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're subject to TV security, shall we call it, the authorities, the man out there moving these fixtures around. But let's take them at face value, just as for a point of conversation. Otherwise, we've got a point in this show, listeners. Opening day, as I've said already, is Saturday the 5th of August, Middlesbrough away. I mean, it's really difficult, Michael. We were just speaking off air to give any kind of assessment for the season because, I mean, really, a lot of clubs are still in the process of forming up their squads. Managers seem to change at the drop of a hat. So it's at the moment, I think it's quite hard to say whether that's good, bad, or indifferent as an opening month. But I mean, Middlesbrough away, Bristol at home, Norwich away, and Stoke City at home. We should get a fair sense of where we stand in relation to the rest of the division at the end of August with those opening 4 fixtures. At least I'd say.
Yeah, I'll be fair to you, Nick. I don't think that's particularly difficult in truth. Middlesbrough away is going to be. There's no two ways about that one. But I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, really. God, I tell you what. I mean, I've got them in front of me now. So Middlesbrough, yeah, you'll get a draw. Bristol City looking to win. Norwich, you'll be looking at a draw. Stoke, you'll be looking to win. Birmingham away, you'll be looking to win. Millwall against Leeds, we tend to win those. Rotherham, we tend to win those at home. West Brom away, draw. I'm not sure if this is the hangover of last season, Nick, where we had a good year, regardless of what your part 2 show might say soon. We had a good season. Those first 10 and 12 games are all right, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to be looking to hit the ground running. I mean, I was thinking today, we've got 2 of these shows. I'm going to speak to Harry and to Neil Fizz later. Listeners, this will be part 1 of 2. But I suppose the challenge for the management, Adam Barrett and Gary Rowett, is to lift the team because there's a whether we like it or not, and it was a good season last season, historically and all the rest, all the things that maybe shows like this bore people with because it's not about the kind of the bipolar approach to life that many adopt. But although we missed out in the end, it was a good season. But nevertheless, there was a sense of what if, what could have been, what should have been, perhaps. I think lifting the squad will be the challenge, really, and it's going to be a bit of a test of the management, really, to get the players back up because there are winnable games. I mean, even Middlesbrough away. I mean, I think in terms of at least a point there, I don't see why we shouldn't go into all of those games with a sense we should be winning them. Really,
yeah.
If we want to contend in this league, we've got to be thinking in those terms, haven't we?
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather Middlesbrough away on the opening game of the season than any of the 3 promoted teams from League One, because they really they tend to give you the bloody nose. And I think the reason why I say that the fixture machine has been generous to us, we don't really get those ones that could bloody your nose until early mid-October when the season's well in swing, everything's in place, the fixtures are sorted. You get a bit of a working out who's who, where everyone's going to be, and that's when the sort of fixtures that might bloody your nose might start popping in. So, like you say, the togetherness. I think let's just hope Millwall don't do their usual with their transfer dealings like we had a couple of years ago, because I think that this Rabsy Nesbitt we've got from Scotland is
welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, welcome, Kev. That's a good signing. You know, we had the politics with his medical, or was it medical, or was it not medical last season? But that's a good.
Well, it wasn't officially so, but it was unofficially.
Yeah.
It felt to be his knee that was an issue, wasn't it?
Exactly. So you've trimmed the squad down. The players who you think will be your high earners, as in your Mason Bennett and your Scott Malone's, who whether you like them or not, they're gone now. They was bit part players. Ryan Leonard. How ruthless this club is with Biakowski with his knee, when they done that transfer, and you're presuming with Nesbitt there's there's a sort of reduction in what he was worth because of his supposed speech marks, vowels, medical. Leonard's come back. He's a good signing when he's fit. What kind of business will that be in the sense that would we sign a player who's so notoriously injured all the time or re-sign him? I think you're spot on. I think the club is in a good position behind the scenes. It's a good, strong squad. It's a squad you can build on. And am I quietly confident we can make the top 6? Possibly not, but I don't think it will be I don't think we'll be near the bottom of the table. That's for sure.
We've just drawn Reading in the Caribou Cup. Reading at home. That's normally played in the first week of the season, isn't it? Mill versus Reading. That'll be a West End upper only fixture. But anyway, that's also one to throw into the mix there. I think we want to get out of that competition reasonably quickly, really, because we really do want to focus on the league, in my opinion. I mean, going back to Nisbet, interesting signing, really. I mean, I was looking at his track record in Scotland, and that's always got to be the big caveat. But his actual scoring record up there in North of the Ball is pretty good, Mike. I mean, Partick Thistle, he didn't do much there, but he scored 6 goals against Stirlingshire. He scored a lot with Raith Rovers, 29 goals from 34 appearances, 18 goals at Dunfermline from 25, and then Hibernian at I think they're at the highest level in Scotland. So, I mean, always people will be able to dig at that because that's an easy pop to make, but nevertheless, 31 goals from 78 appearances for Hibernian. The boy seems to know where the back of the net is, and that's something that we really do need. And I'm personally quite glad to see the signing go through. Actually, I know there's this talk of his knee and so on, but I sometimes wonder if modern players are tested to high heaven. If he's playing in Scotland and scoring goals, then why not? I think it's the kind of sign we've got to make. We're not going to sit at the top table of European money, are we? And that's going to be the kind of level where we can try and find the diamonds in the rough, as the cliche has it.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I don't want to speak for all Millwall fans, but there is that kind of...
We do. We claim everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't speak for me, Avery. You don't speak for me.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times. But one thing with him is, and it is with the Millwall fans, you always... like whenever you talk about these big money players, you always see online and everywhere, why don't we take a punt on a non-league player? Why don't we take a punt here and punt on a League Two? This is taking the punt. So anyone who's critical of the Scottish League or the Scottish football scene, this is the punt, just in a slightly different country. It's exactly what it is.
I mean, there's a certain level of football snobbery involved in that, and it's an easy dig to make, the Scottish football and all the rest of it. But we've sent a number of players, including Danny Mack. Alex Mitchell has just come back from St Johnstone, I think it is. Danny Mack certainly went north of the ball and improved his game, and came back to become a first team pick for us. So it can't be that bad up there. I mean, I would certainly agree with anyone that says the depth of the game in Scotland is not going to match the depth of the game in England, but at the higher levels you're going to get some decent players and decent sides. So if you can perform there, then what's the difference between that and saying, why don't we go to Bromley and pick up the boy that's just gone to who was it? Was it Ipswich or Norwich? He went to the talented forward there from Bromley. I can't think of his name now. Listeners, apologise me. But you're right. This is the kind of punt. This is a punt in a sense, isn't it? And it's not a bad punt when you look at his track record.
And that's the thing,
I suppose, is his knee.
Yeah, and you say as very well about it. I mean, if we're going to start saying a great Scottish League is, this isn't what this is for listener, but this is a country with a very, very small, very small demographic of people compared to England. But they qualified for the Euros. They tend to always make the knockouts of their groups in the qualifiers. They're never normally a million miles away. So again, yes, people compare the Scottish League to the Premier League and the Championship. Yeah, that they can't touch it. But I always say, Ryan Loftus made a good point the other week when I was with him. He was talking about Celtic and how much they dominate the Scottish League. In the sense that their budget is miles ahead. Their infrastructure, even compared to Rangers, is miles ahead. That's why they always dominate. So if you was to take Celtic and arguably even keep Rangers in, but again, for this argument, take out. It is a wide open playing field. So if you've got a player who's scoring 1 and 2 in a wide open playing field with the service that some people may not think is the level that he should be, that's worth taking a punt. I think if you bring him down and he has 5-6 shots a game and he puts them all wide, then yeah, you criticise. But if he's scoring 1 in every 2 games with a limited service in for a team who Hibs has always been notoriously up and down, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, I'll take that punt all day.
I'm as happy with this signing as I would be if we'd picked up a £1 million player from a League Two side, possibly even arguably one of the better National League sides. Someone who's scored goals and has done it at that level. Nesbitt has done it at the Scottish level. If we're not signing this kind of player, I don't know where people think we will be picking up our talent. I know that we're going abroad a little bit more, apparently, to look for friends of Zian Fleming in Holland. But this is the kind of level we're aiming at. So I'd take my hat off. He's also got an international goal. Just looking at Wikipedia here, 10 appearances for the Scottish national side, 1 goal. So fair play to him. It's going to be interesting to see how it works out. Obviously, it's all very much unknown at this stage. Just to move us along, Michael, the pre-season schedule has been confirmed. We've got a glittering array of sides here. We're visiting the Medway, always an exotic experience. Going down the Medway to play Gillingham pre-season. The suburban depths of Sutton. Big local derby with Charlton, and Fortuna Sittard, which I think is the last weekend before the start of the season, before the trip to Middlesbrough. I can't be bothered with any of them, to be quite honest with listeners.
Do you know what?
Don't come to this show. Don't come to this show if you're looking for full coverage of the friendlies. It won't be from me.
Let's get the big stick and poke the bear. Can someone tweet in how many people Gillingham away go on Avery back?
Oh dear! I mean, we no Dartford this season. That's normally maybe we've gone off to the end of the line or something and gone to Gillingham instead.
Probably because it kicked off last year at Dartford, didn't it?
Well, that's always a problem, isn't it? Someone's sent me a thing the other day about people moaning that we're going on a Spanish training trip, and why don't we have any nice little friendlies in the hot Spanish sun with the wonderful Spanish lager on tap.
Oh, can you imagine?
I think if it kicks off at Dartford, and it may well get a bit naughty at Gillingham, and I don't know, possibly Sutton, I don't know. Well,
Sutton United, it all kicking off down there.
Try adding 2 and 2 and see what answer you come up with, listeners, because I think that's why we don't go for any foreign friendlies. I mean, it's the truth of it, Michael. I mean, people might like it, might say, "Oh, it's not fair," but the security costs make it a bit disproportionate, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and you know the one thing as well. I was actually surprised. Not that you like to see this type of thing at football, dear listener. We don't condone this kind of thing. QPR at home on Boxing Day is an interesting one, isn't it?
Boxing, yeah, the Christmas fixtures. Let me get the sifting backwards and forwards on my phone, listeners, to bring you this show. QPR Tuesday the 26th. That'll be probably a 1 o'clock kickoff, I reckon. Boxing Day, and then Norwich City on the Friday. Friday the 29th. That might be a 3 p.m. I suppose. I don't know. Leeds is the big other name, isn't it? Everyone looks for Saturday the 16th, but I can't see that remaining as a 3 p.m. kickoff, Michael. I think again there's going to be a lot of kickoff time moving to suit the police.
Yeah, and it's like we said as well with the TV, didn't we? Like, I think
TV, yeah.
If you look at, I think it was either Harry or Mike Hayden. They were saying about Leicester aways on the 13th, 7:45. Now I could be wrong.
Both the Leicester games in the midfield.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but that stinks that might be on TV for me.
Well, they might do. I mean, December the 13th is Leicester City away, and then the home game at the Den, which has been in its time quite a big fixture. Leicester City at home is in April, Tuesday the 9th, so both evening games. I think they've done that a few times in what was the other one I saw? The Ipswich Town. I think Ipswich away and Ipswich at home are both midweek games, if I remember rightly. I'm just trying to
Ipswich at home on the 14th.
And forwards here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday the 29th of November. So that'd be a midweek night game. So it's the reality of football, listeners. You can moan about it, and you can have a long conversation about whether it's right, wrong, or fair or unfair. But it's just the way it's going to work out for us. And I think there'll be one or two changes yet to make on some of these fixtures. But hey ho, there we go. So I always find it's disproportionately exciting when fixtures get announced, Michael. And I think the schoolboy in me comes back to the fore briefly, and then very swiftly, after about 5 minutes of staring at Middlesbrough away and Bristol City at home, you think, okay, it's all back to normal again now, isn't it? It wasn't quite as exciting as you thought it might be.
You know, it makes me laugh as well. So I've got to say, what makes me laugh is when they come out. I don't know about you, but at first I was a bit similar to you. I looked, sounds like, wait. You always want your first game to be at home, don't you? Just.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I
don't know why. It's a psychological thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you like.
And
to
your
be at
final
home.
game of the season, you want that at home. I think that's a way as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But then, so you sit there and you look at that. But then, still on the other foot, do you remember that season when we had Leeds at home, the first game of the season? Everyone's like, "Fucking hell, Leeds first game! What's all that about?" You're like, you're never going to win, are you? If you're the random computer generator, you're never going to win.
No, that's for sure. What's the other news? Obviously, the signing of Nisbet. Callum Styles looks like he's going to get out of and away from us, Michael. Watford apparently in talks to sign Callum Styles, says the London News. Well, that'd be a shame. I mean, it's not heartbreaking, but it'd be a shame. Because I quite like the look of Styles. He looked like an intelligent player of the ball, but who knows what lies behind that. I suppose the other good news from the summertime really are goals for our youngsters. Roman Esse scored for the England under-18 side. This was a 2-2 draw with Norway a couple of days ago. And also an under-21 debut for Adomo Imaku, who played for the Republic of Ireland recently, under-21. So good news there. Also, we've signed a Leicester City goalkeeper, Dylan Adai. I don't know anything about him other than the fact he's a youth player with Leicester City. So there we are.
So it's quite a couple of days, Nick.
Well, I mean, once you get past the fixture announcement, it's a very dry period for news, isn't it, really?
There's some new stuff in the club shop.
I thought it looked very, very, very bland, the club shop stuff. I mean, it's very Americanised. I mean, Fanatics are the company running it, and they are a big name in US sports, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. So they have certain formats that they follow. But then I caught myself looking at they've got some polo shirts and a couple of like sweatshirt and hoodie things, which just say Lions on them. But then what am I looking for really? I probably wouldn't wear a lot of the stuff anyway, Mike. But do I really want witty bants on my t-shirt? I probably wouldn't. If you're going to wear it, the discreet, polo shirt with the lion logo is what people have been calling for many years, and actually that's what's being laid on there. Now, I don't know. On the one hand, it's bland, and on the other hand, it's possibly wearable. So,
there's a hoodie.
It's going to be interesting to see how they develop it.
Like yellow and black, and it looks like something from Chernobyl, or as if you're sort of wearing something to go around there. Yeah, there it is, like the yellow and black Lions written across it.
They're going for that. That's an American kind of idea, isn't it? And they like that kind of, I don't know, big, bold graphic statement. But then, like I just said, I don't know what I'm really thinking they're going to show on there. I'm hoping that they'll have some stuff that has marginally more interesting visually. But then would I wear half that stuff? I probably wouldn't,
I wouldn't wear all of it, let alone half of it.
Well, I was watching baseball the other day, and they were advertising a San Francisco Giants Hawaiian shirt, and they got this kind of really leery Hawaiian shirt with all sorts of designs all over it, and they're raving about it. And I thought, well, I wonder if that would sell, something like that, because there would be buyers for this stuff if they did come out. Maybe that's where it's going to be going, a Millwall Hawaiian shirt, with tropical depictions of local disco pubs along the old Kent Road in the 80s with cocktailed with palm trees on them and things like that. That might work. But yeah, I suppose that's the other big news. I mean, the other rumour that's we were just talking off air is the obviously we've got the kit yet to be announced. I suppose that's another big thing. Bang the drum for the kit. Whether we're going to do something for
cue the complaints.
well, whatever you do, you gotta be dealing with. You can't win every. You can't please everybody. But it's going to be interesting. It's 30 years of the Den this season, the new Den, as I still think of it. And I'm wondering if they're going to do something kit wise that will hark back to that first season back in 93, 94. That was a royal blue shirt with a pinstripe design. I'm wondering whether they'll go for something like that to have a bit of a throwback to those now far off days, 30 years since. Also, I mean, as far as we know, the Husky deal has a year to go. So, despite someone saying online earlier on about is there a new sponsor, or I'm not in the know, listeners. I don't. You're not in the know, Michael. I don't think either on these matters. If there's a new sponsor coming, who knows? We'll see, won't we? We'll find out when it gets announced.
In
As
the
far as I
nicest
know,
way,
it's Husky.
yeah, I was going to say in the nicest way. We are quite modest on this podcast, but I doubt that the commercials thing is we need to call Nick and Michael to make sure they're happy with the sponsor.
Get it out there. Spread it to the 500 subscribers. Listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. And Doug Hume in Sweden, what do you think?
Put it around in Sweden, Doug, when you see it, mate. I don't know. These things get announced when they get announced, and I've not seen anything to hint that Husky are no more, and there's going to be some other human rights abusing national state instead written on our shirt. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out. Michael, I think we've explored opening day fixtures to the very limit as to how much conversation I can drag up. Did you want to say anything else before we call
Just
it?
thank you for the new show that we've put out. That we have had
Erith
a couple of
Town.
episodes so far.
Big season
Yeah.
for Erith Town. They're playing at the Thamesmead Town Ground on Bayliss Avenue, listeners. If you're living in Thamesmead, I can think of a lot worse places to go for any away days, when you can't get to the Millwall game. Get yourself around on midweek fixtures. It's a nice little ground, actually. I used to be owned by Peabody. I don't know if it still is. So I kind of knew when I was in my working days, I knew a little bit about it. Are Thamesmead Town still in existence there, Michael? Look at the football club. Are they still?
There's Sporting Club Thamesmead in the
Sporting Club
Scaffold Division
Thamesmead.
1 below.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
still
To be honest, they're
yeah.
they're doing a grand share. To be honest with you, it's a kind of it's a little bit of a cheap club, so I apologise, Nick, because you weren't raised. But yeah, so it's kind of a spin-off of our grassroots show we did last year. We sort of found ourselves actually quite entertained with Erith Town, how they played football, how they did things. And obviously, I'm now helping them out behind the scenes with some bits and pieces, which they've asked us to do. We suggested the podcast, which they jumped at, and they're very, very happy to be on the same platform and channel as obviously Achtung Millwall. I'm very, very grateful. There's a lot of people there who do a lot of good things. You've got some people there who are local Bermondsey, Rotherhithe people originally who are now associated with them. A few people there are related to Millwall fans, and Adam, who's the first team manager, goes to Millwall when he gets a chance, obviously, when he's not managing at Erith Town. And they're just a good club. I'll be honest with you, there is an awful lot of similarities behind the scenes with Erith Town and Millwall when it comes to things like community feel, feeling like you're part of it and everything like that. And that's one of the reasons we've got involved and helped out.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting over to Bayliss Avenue. I came along last season to the Sports Centre ground at the Erith Leisure Centre, and that was a nice afternoon. But it was a big, spacey kind of running track environment, like a lot of non-league league clubs have to contend with. It's going to be interesting to see them play at a more conventional, tighter, football arena only. So I'm looking forward to getting along. Do have a listen to the show. And do follow Erith Town online. Keep abreast of what they're up to. Very happy to carry the podcast. Big thank you to Michael for producing it. All I do is just add the tapes together and stick it online. Michael, I think we've reached the end of the line on this little show. So big thank you for joining me from your working environment. Big thank you to Michael Avery.
No problem at all. Come on, you Lions.
Come on, you Lions. And thank you to you too, dear listeners, for tuning in. This is only part one of the show. I'm going to put out a separate part two featuring Harry Warren and Neil Fissler. This has been quite an upbeat show. I'm going to see what we're going to get from Neil and from Fizz and H as part two. So tune in for that one separately. Until the next edition of Achtung Millwall, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.
Hello Nick, it's Rufus here. I'm just going to answer the 5 questions you put onto the WhatsApp group this morning about the Zian Fleming to Burnley situation. So number 1, rumours of £8 million bid for Fleming. Would you sell? My answer to that is no, I wouldn't. I'd simply put a price tag of something like 30 million on it, or just say Fleming's not for sale. And if you put a price tag of 30 million, that'll keep clubs away. But if a massive club came in 30 million, then fair enough, I guess. Number 2, at what price is he for sale for you? As I just mentioned there about putting a 30 million price tag on him, I wouldn't want to sell Fleming because I don't think it's the right time for Fleming to be sold yet. Even after one season at the club, I don't think it's long enough yet, and I don't think he's ready to be sold yet. I think it would be better for us to keep him longer, to develop him more than that, to see what he can do next season. It's not only that increases the level Fleming's at, it'll increase his valuation as well. But I think he'll be a key player next season to have another push for the playoffs in a really, really tough league. And number 3, if it strengthens the side, is this a good deal? I'm kind of mixed on this one really, because losing Fleming, it would impact us a lot. And if we didn't have the right player to replace Fleming, then we would struggle a lot next season. But if it was a lot of money we had for him, I guess you can look at other quality players that you may be able to get in for that sort of money possibly. But it's a tough one, that, because you need to be able to get these players to want to come to the club as well. But I'm not sure if it is a good deal actually, because like I said, I don't think it's the right time to sell Fleming, and I don't think it'd be good for the club to sell him yet either. Number 4, areas you'd strengthen with the money this deal might generate. The main priority, I think, that I've been saying for a while now, is goalkeeper situation. I do think we need to go out there and just spend some money on a new goalkeeper, because if you look at the 2 current goalkeepers we got, Bart is 35 now. He isn't going to be able to do it long term anymore. And do I really need to say much about George Long really? So I don't think we've got 2 sort of stable keepers at the club at the moment. So I think that would be a real priority to buy with the money the deal would generate. And I'd also look at left back area, and I'd also look at another centre forward, an attacker, and possibly another midfielder. And number 5, any other thoughts? Now I'm going to go on a bit more about Burnley and Vincent Kompany and what this sort of deal might feel like for Fleming. So you look at Burnley, they've just gone back to the Premier League. They're going to be wanting to build a strong side to compete in the Premier League. And I can honestly see why they are interested in Fleming. Because if you've watched him long enough, or we've all seen him, you can tell he's a quality player. And to say about Vincent Kompany, I've heard he's a big admirer of Zian Fleming. And you can expect that. I was saying, like, after one season, you're going to expect the interest to be there for Fleming. But the one thing that I just cannot stand is the tactical fouls that Burnley play. And plus as well, it'd feel a real slap in the face if Burnley took our best player after what they did when they come down to the Den and the system they play in now. I just don't like Burnley, and I don't like the way Vincent Kompany sets them up or their tactics at all. And I just don't... And going on to Zian Fleming, if you look at it in his head, he's going to think, what do I do? Do I stay at Millwall for another season to play on or to have a push with them? Or do you think Zian Fleming would end up being tempted with the offer of Premier League football, more wages, and playing under one of the new upcoming managers? It's a lot of factors with this, and you've got to think of it from Fleming's perspective as well. those are my thoughts on it. I don't think it's a good idea to sell him yet for whatever price or to any club really. I think it'll be important to keep him for at least another season. That's all I got to say on this really. Thank you, Nick.